Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the April 16th, 2019 meeting of the Downers Grove Village Council. It is my privilege to call tonight's meeting to order. If you haven't already done so, there are copies of our agenda on either side of the room. Please feel free to pick up a copy and you can follow along with tonight's proceedings. There will be multiple opportunities for public comment, both with respect to things that are on tonight's agenda, as well as a section that is relegated for public comments of a general nature, also known as item 4. At that point in the meeting, if there are any questions or comments of a general nature from any members of the audience, I would invite you to please come up to the podium, tell us who you are, and we would welcome hearing from you at that time. But first, it is our proud tradition to begin our meetings by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. So I would ask everyone to please rise and join us in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much for joining us. And now, I would like to ask our fine village clerk, April Holden, to please call the roll. Good evening.
Good evening. Commissioner Wallace?
Here.
Commissioner Earl?
Here.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Here.
Commissioner White?
Here.
Commissioner Jose?
Here.
Commissioner Barnett?
Here.
Mayor Tully?
Here, thank you very much. That brings us to item 3, which pertains to minutes of prior council meetings. This is our opportunity to review and approve minutes from other times that we've gotten together. And the one set of minutes that we have to review and approve tonight are those from our April 9th, 2019 regular village council meeting. If there are no questions, concerns, comments, changes, or confusion, I would welcome a motion to approve, please.
Mayor Tully, I move the council approve the meeting minutes from April 9th, 2019 as presented.
Second.
All right. Well-oiled machine. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? These minutes are approved unanimously. See, it threw me off my game there. Just like that, it brings us to item 4, which is previously advertised, pertains to questions and comments of a general nature. If there are any public questions or comments with respect to things that are not on tonight's agenda, this would be an opportunity to please come down to the podium, and we would welcome hearing from you. I see a line starting to form.
Just a short one.
Take your time.
Oh, I can't help it. It takes as long as it.
It's a beautiful day, no rush.
All right.
Good evening, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Kathy Nibel. I live at 5253 Blodgett for 48 years and proud of it. I just had a few things I wanted to say since there'll be a change. And I wanted to address a couple of the commissioners, one of them being Commissioner Waldeck. You were the voice that I thought would be for ADA, and I was hoping that you would be here when they built the new building. I'm all for a new building. I worked in this building, and we worked upstairs in community events. I had a curving staircase, and it was a pain in the butt. I was hoping you'd be here, but I hope that your voice will be heard later, and that's fine. You need to follow, whatever happens with the details, but let's hope it gets through, because I'd like to thank you for giving up your Tuesdays. It's appreciated. It was very kind of you. And
Thank
then,
you so much.
I'll miss you. And then, Commissioner White, I'm going to miss you too. I always thought that sometimes there'd be these questions and they would just go on forever. I go, what are they saying? And you were the voice of common sense. You sorted it out, and I went, oh, now I get it. You made it clear. And I thought that was a wonderful talent, and I wanted to thank you for that. I will miss you for that. That was always great. And then Mayor Tully. Now, when I started working at the village a long time ago, back when you were a kid, you were on the council for 8 years, and then mayor for 8 years. That's 16 years ago. Holy smokies. It's a long time. And community events was the fun commission. We had so much fun planning the 4th of July parade and the fireworks and all the wonderful things in Heritage Festival, and you were a part of it, and you made it better by being there. I can't tell you how much. And I can't imagine what the three of you are going to do. Your families will go, oh my gosh, you're going to be home on a Tuesday night? That will be crazy. So thank you for your sacrifices. We really, not just me, others too. We appreciate what you've done for Downers Grove, and you will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind words, Kathy. Good evening, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Liz Chalberg, 1132 Curtis. I'm here on behalf of the Historical Society. I also would like to thank you for your service, the three who are leaving, and also for your generous support of all things Downers Grove history. It's been great. I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for supporting the landmark application for the Downers Grove Main Street Cemetery. The community will have an opportunity to celebrate the cemetery's new landmark status, assuming all goes well this evening, at the Historical Society's Founder of the Year event on May 4th at 11:30 in the morning. Our 2019 Founder of the Year is Henry Carpenter. The Carpenters arrived in 1839 when only 6 other families lived here. There was nowhere to get provisions for what was then a 2 to 2.5 day trip from Naperville to Chicago, and when farming didn't work out well for Mr. Carpenter, he became an entrepreneur and he added a little addition onto his house, and he opened up our first store in Downers Grove, a general store, with about $600 worth of goods. He put a little addition on a house that actually still stands today at the corner of Maple and Main at 1047 Maple and Lane. And it became a meeting place for the villagers in town and also became the post office when Henry Carpenter became our second postmaster. In 1858, Mr. Carpenter worked with others to prepare a petition to the CB&Q Railroad, now the Burlington, requesting a train line be brought through Downers Grove. And in 1864, the first trains arrived, changing our future and fortunes forever. As a result of the hardships that Mr. Carpenter experienced in his youth, he became a very generous man, and the apocryphal stories go that he would offer credit to anyone who could tie their shoes, and he always had a soft spot for people who were in need. Mr. Carpenter donated land and $20 to the Methodist congregation to build a church across the street from his home on Maple, even though he was not a member of that congregation. In appreciation of his generosity, the current pastor of the First United Methodist Church, Pastor Claude King, and members of the chancel choir will be participating in our tribute. We are also fortunate to have both Mayor Tully and Mayor-elect Barnett provide remarks on that occasion. Come celebrate the cemetery on Founders Day, May 4th, 11:30, in the Main Street Cemetery, and this event is part of a larger group of 14 events for young and old celebrating Downers Grove history, and I've got some flyers over there for people who may want to pick them up on the way out. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that with everyone. Other questions or comments of a general nature from members of the audience? Good evening, welcome.
Hello. My text all fits all on this one screen here, so unless there's questions. Hi, my name's Marty Axe. I live at 5217 Fairmount Avenue in the Randall Park area. I'm also a volunteer and the newest board member of the Downers Grove Historical Society. I'm here today to let the Village Council and residents of Downers Grove know that there's a new app that'll actually help guide your visit through the Main Street Cemetery. You can reach that app at www.mainstreetcemetery.com, so hopefully a URL that people can remember. So what this app does is it features biographies for every person, with the exception of a couple we just can't figure out much about them. But on everyone we've been able to research over the last 10, 20, 30 years. There's also a map to guide you through the cemetery, so you can, when you pop up the app, you can just tap on the different headstones. And it's a challenging cemetery to map. If you've ever noticed, things aren't really in rows there.
Right.
So we spent a lot of times getting that map right. There's also an index of all the people that are in there, so you can tap on that and see information about those people. And then finally, we've got some professionally done audio for 15 of the most prominent founders of Downers Grove, so that tell their story in an audio format. So. And we'd also finally, we'd like to thank the village as owners of the cemetery and for their assistance in bringing this project to life. So, and again, the URL is www.mainstreetcemetery.com. So, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Can't wait to check it out.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions or comments of a general nature from members of the audience? All right, hearing none. Thank you for those that did speak. We'll move on to our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Rachel, I move the council approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience with respect to any of the items on tonight's consent agenda? Questions or comments from members of the village council? Hearing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, the consent agenda passes unanimously. That brings us to item 6, our active agenda. We have a number of items on tonight's active agenda. The first, speaking of historic preservation and all things history, item 6A. May I have a motion to adopt a resolution granting historic landmark designation for 5158 Main Street in the village of Downers Grove?
Rachel, I move the council adopt a resolution granting historic landmark designation for 5158 Main Street as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments from any members of the audience on this item? I think we heard the questions and comments on this item just a moment ago, so thank you. Very timely, well stated. Questions or comments from members of the council? Commissioner Waldeck, good evening. How are you
Thank you.
tonight?
I am fine, Mayor. Very happy to see this landmark. I think it saves that area. Being our main street and a very prosperous, getting to be more prosperous, I think it's important that we save this area. The idea of turning this over to build another shop, an ice cream shop or restaurant or something, and moving bodies just doesn't appeal to me at all. And I think saving these former residents and honoring them in this way is extremely appropriate and important, and gives us pause as we go about our business on our main street. So I'm very happy to see this go through. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments from members of the council? I just had one. Mr. Popovich, how are you tonight?
I'm well, Mayor. How are you?
This would be number 26?
That is correct.
I just wanted to make sure we put that correct notch in the historic preservation stick.
That's correct.
Do we have a stick?
The night is young, Commissioner. The night is young. And with that, roll call, please.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. The matter passes unanimously. Thank you very much. That brings us to item 6B as in boy. Do I have a motion to adopt an ordinance to authorize a special use for 1225 Warren Avenue and to permit a veterinary clinic with a variation?
Rachel, I move the council adopt an ordinance authorizing a special use for 1225 Warren Avenue to permit a veterinary clinic with a variation as presented.
Second.
Questions or comments on this item from any members of the audience? Questions or comments from the village council? May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. That matter also passes unanimously and brings us on to item 6C as in Charlie. Do I have a motion to adopt an ordinance adopting amendments to the institutional master plan for Downers Grove South High School campus, 1436 Norfolk Street?
Rachel, I am pleased to move that this council adopt an ordinance accepting amendments to the institutional master plan for the property located at 1436 Norfolk Street, commonly known as Downers Grove South High School campus, as presented.
I am pleased to second.
Everyone's pleased tonight.
Yes.
Is anyone in the audience pleased to comment? Hearing none, any questions or comments from members of the village council? May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, that matter passes unanimously. That brings us item 6D as in David. Do I have a motion to adopt an ordinance adopting amendments to the institutional master plan for Downers Grove North High School campus, 4436 Main Street?
Rachel, I am precisely equally pleased to move to adopt an ordinance adopting amendments to the institutional master plan for the property located at 4436 Main Street, commonly known as the Downers Grove North High School campus, as presented.
I am pleased to second.
Questions or comments from the audience? Questions or comments of the village council? You had no idea how much fun this government stuff was, did you? Roll call, please.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye, that matter passes unanimously. And that then brings us to item 6E as in Edward. Do I have a motion to adopt an ordinance granting a stormwater variance for 4436 Main Street, Downers Grove North High School?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments from the audience? Questions or comments from the council? Advanced congratulations to both North and South campuses and to District 99. Good luck in the project. We're looking forward greatly to what you produce. And maybe we can learn a thing or two about building a building. That would be nice too. Roll call, please.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. The matter passes unanimously. Congratulations. And we're not done yet. Item 6F is in Frank. Do I have a motion to adopt an ordinance amending ordinance number 5720 and the Village of Downers Grove budget for fiscal year 2018?
Martelli, I move the council approve an ordinance providing for an amendment to the ordinance 5720 and the Village of Downers Grove budget for the fiscal year 2018 as presented.
Second.
Questions or comments from the audience? Questions or comments from the Village Council? Commissioner Waldeck.
I'll do it again. This regards the budget for 2018. Unlike folks at home who may sit down at the table at the beginning of the year and set up a budget, and then at the end of the year you compare your budget to see if you made your targets. But in our government, under certain circumstances, we budget at the beginning of the year, and if we don't make it, we move the target. So we always meet our target by law. So it's a little different the way we do it up here than the folks at home. But that's what this is all about, and I will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments from members of the council? Hearing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Tully?
Aye. That matter also passes unanimously. That brings us to the end of our active agenda and on to item 7, which is our first reading or our workshop agenda. But those astute students of Downers Grove Village government will note that there are no items under the first reading or workshop agenda tonight. So I will, with all due speed, move right to item 8, which is a special segment of our agenda that we only have every couple of years at most. It's a very special one. So let me tell you what item 8 is tonight. Item 8 is designed to recognize and honor 3 departing members of the Downers Grove Village Council. As some of you may know, there was an election on April 2nd, and we elected 2 new village commissioners. We have a returning village commissioner, and we elected a new mayor. Very exciting times in the village of Downers Grove. And because we know there's just so much excitement and interest in these topics, we've never quite had a situation where we've had 3 outgoing members of a village council and 3 plus 1, a 4th one, returning to the village council. So rather than try to cram all that in on May 7th, which is the night on which the new council will be sworn in, seated, and officially begin their journey towards continued success in our community, we decided to split things up a little bit. So tonight, we are focusing on saying thank you and honoring the 3 departing members of the Village Council, although tonight is technically not the last meeting, and that would be Commissioner Waldeck, Commissioner Bill White, and yours truly. And then on May 7th, which is the last meeting of this council and also the first meeting of the next council, we will have a very brief meeting where and I can say this because I am, the old council meets very briefly and then we adjourn. There's a ceremony for the swearing in of returning Commissioner Wallace, Commissioner-elect Colavani, Commissioner-elect Sadowski-Fugit, and Mayor-elect Barnett. 10 years of habit, sorry. And then they will be sworn in, and then they will convene, and then the night will be about celebrating their new positions in the community along with their friends and family. And so for that reason, I will warn you in advance that my comments with respect to those folks and going forward will be reserved for May 7th. But tonight is about thanking and saying, well, not goodbye, but it's not really leaving. In fact, I have a little story to tell on May 7th about the Downers Grove organization chart, but I don't want to spoil the surprise. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with Commissioner Waldeck, and I'm going to ask members of the Village Council first if they have any remarks, comments, trivia questions, anything they might want to direct to Commissioner Waldeck, and then I'm going to ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to make any comments, and then I have some words for Commissioner Waldeck. And then we will move on to Commissioner White, so on and so forth. So with that, in no particular order, why don't I start with We'll start with Commissioner Earl. We'll do ladies first.
Oh, wow, okay.
And for those of you playing at home, Commissioner Bill Waldak is first up. Commissioner Earl, good evening. How are you?
Thank you, Mayor.
I talked long enough. You all should be prepared.
Yes, yeah, it's not that I'm not prepared, it's that you gave me my hardest one first. And I'm going to try not to cry. Bill Waldak has been the conscience of this community for as long as I've known him. He has fought for continued funding for seniors and disabled, Meals on Wheels, which was defunded and then refunded almost solely because of Commissioner Waldak. He has fought for the taxi subsidies. He has fought for people who can't fight for themselves. And he has done this, which many people don't ever realize, with both hands tied behind his back, because as long as I've known him, which has been 12 years, he's been legally blind and has still done a heck of a job getting through volumes and volumes of material every week, and has set an example that I can only hope to live up to. Now, makes it sound like Bill and I have always agreed, which is absolutely not the case. But there's nobody whose opinion in disagreement I respect more. We can argue and argue and argue, yet we will always remain friends, and he will always be able to be the one who can sway my opinion. And I can't possibly say goodbye to him. I can only say maybe I won't be seeing you every single Tuesday, but I know he'll be tuning in, because he's not the kind of guy to go away and go away for good. He's always going to be here doing good within our community, whether it's within village government or at some other not-for-profit in the village. He is just been a rock I can always lean on, and one of the main reasons I'm sitting up here today. So my heartfelt thanks goes out to Commissioner Waldak, and I of course wish nothing but the best for you and Judy and of course Bud in your maybe brief retirement, maybe not. We'll see how you like it this time. And thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wallace.
Thank you, Mayor. I have, there's no way that I would be able to get through talking about these three people leaving up here, so they all have personal letters from me in their mailboxes. However, I will say briefly, so that I don't cry, that it has been an absolute honor serving with Bill Waldak, and I have learned a lot from him. I'm going to miss sitting next to him, and I know that he will continue watching, continue to be engaged, and appreciate all that he has taught me in this position. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor-elect Barnett.
Thanks, Mayor. Everybody should recognize, Marge, it's impossible almost to follow that because it was so well done. But whether or not Bill and I have agreed often, which has been less frequently than others, but Bill's service to this community just can't be understated. There has been nobody that I know that has taken up subjects near and dear to his heart and truly pushed and pushed and pushed to try and advance those issues forward. And anybody that takes the time that Bill's taken to serve their community deserves the thanks of the entire community, not just the council. And so I can't follow the two before me and nearly catch up, but thank you, Bill. I truly appreciate the fact that you're committed to your community and the service you've given all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jose.
Thank you, Mayor. I hadn't planned on it, but I want to echo something Bob said there. Your dedication to the community, Bill, is second to none. I've been up here the last 4 years that I've been able to serve with you, and you were up here, I think it was 12 before that? 8 before that? And you have worked incredibly hard, and you deserve all the credit in the world for that. We've not always agreed up here, but I think we've been able to do it, with a few laughs along the way, and agreed on more things than we disagreed on. And I have to thank you especially for giving me my start in this. Back in 2010, you saw something in a newcomer to Downers Grove that led you to be the first person to suggest that I run for council. And I lost that first election, but the relationships I built and the lessons I learned through that first campaign are a big reason why I've been up here since 2013. So, thank you for all you've done for me. Thank you for all you've done for the village, for your great dedication, and I wish you nothing but the best. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner White.
Well, it's very hard to follow everything that's said, but there is something very specific that I want to point out that I admire very much about Bill Waldeck. Just a little bit of background. Downers Grove is a town of surprising economic diversity. There are seniors living in this town who have total monthly income of less than $1,000 a month. They might be living in the Cameo condominiums or various apartments. And there are more people in those circumstances than many of us realize. And at the same time, you look around, we're getting $2 million houses, $3 million houses. We have families in this town that spend more on a family vacation than some of these people have for their entire annual budget. And Bill Waldeck has never, ever forgotten those people who live on $1,000 a month or less. And he cares about them more than anybody I've served with on this council.
Any prior council.
And hopefully we can keep focused on them because they are our citizens too. They are our voters too. And for that, I'll always admire and respect Bill Waldeck for that aspect of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. What I'm going to do now is invite, no obligation, but I'm inviting members of the audience who haven't already spoken who would like to do so while I surreptitiously go over and pick something up, and then I'm going to make my own comments to Commissioner Waldeck. If anyone in the audience would like to speak. Otherwise, this is my transition period to pick something up. I'm going to change scenery here. By the way, this is what for the last 8 years really freaks out staff, is when I just sort of do these articles like this and don't tell them what I'm doing.
You want a motion?
No, I think we'll be okay. Because it's a lot easier for me to see you this way, Bill. And I know it's not mutual, but it's easier for me to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Waldeck is part of a very exclusive club of village elected officials who had the good sense to leave after 8 years of service, but then the poor judgment to return for even more. And I'm proud to be in that club with him. Now, some of you may have heard the term prop comedian. And if you're wondering what a prop comedian is, a prop comedian is a style of comedic performance in which common and or unusual objects are used as physical aids to achieve a humorous effect. Well, Bill Waldeck invented an entirely new style of innovative governing called a prop commissioner. Anyone who's had the benefit of hearing Bill Waldeck speak passionately and poignantly on a topic that he deeply cares about has known that he likes to use props on occasion. And he does this by using objects to help him make his points. And I can't even remember the list of items, but some of the more famous ones are an apple core. We've seen coins. I believe there was a fowl involved at some point in time, so on and so forth. And I say this in sort of a humorous light, but I don't want to underestimate or undermine in any way, shape, or form the reason why Bill has done this. The reason why Bill has done this is because he cares so deeply and so passionate about making his point that he wants to make darn sure that whoever listens to him fully appreciates what he was trying to get across. And it always worked. It also signified how much thought you put into what it was you were trying to convey, the research, the mindfulness. It goes to the things that my colleagues have already said about you. No one can ever say that you didn't deeply care about anything that you were advocating, whether they agreed with you or not. Now, I am concerned because I'm hoping that after 12 years of public office, Bill, that we would get you out of your shell and you would not be so shy and retiring. I was thinking, I don't know, maybe you might want to get on social media or maybe start a website, something that would help you communicate with people. That would be, that would be a good thing to kind of help with some communication skills. You and I have not always agreed. And we've even had our share of elevated exchanges in the dais from time to time. But as I said, no one could ever question your passion or your commitment. As Commissioner Earl said, despite your limitations, your own limitations, you have been an absolute champion, and I don't use that term lightly, of many issues for those in this community who either don't have a voice or who are not often heard. Seniors, the Meals on Wheels program. I remember you and I back in the transportation days trying to figure out how we were going to solve the bus issue, and we did, but it wasn't easy. And it took people like you serving on committees, even before you were in elected office, to try to bring about positive change. And I think you can leave here, and I think there's going to be an asterisk behind your departure because we don't know whether you want to create a new club of someone who's left and come back. But that's for another day. But clearly, you do so only for that reason. I also want to thank you for causing myself and others that I've served with to be more cognizant and inclusive of diverse viewpoints. As you did bring a different perspective and a different voice to the table, often when it was lacking. So I think the community and myself appreciate that very much. Now, I have to thank Judy. Judy's hiding here somewhere. There's Judy. I have to thank Judy, Bill's wife. Thank you for sharing Bill with us for all these years. God bless you, not once, but twice. As well as Bill's family, because it is a sacrifice, and we very much appreciate the sacrifice that not only you, but your entire family made. So I would like to thank you for your service and present you with some items. Now, this is really, well, let me start with the flag. We have a village flag, which is very nice, and I'll bring this up in a second. But we also have what I think is really cool. This is a legitimate, authentic, I think it's even autographed, from the old Downersboro Village sign shop, street sign, William Waldeck Way. This is suitable for a den or office. Very nice. And then also, as a token of appreciation for your service, Bill, a very handsome memorial that says, in recognition of your dedicated public service as a commissioner of the Village of Downers Grove, 2015-2019, presented to Bill Waldeck. So I'm going to hand that to you.
Thank you very much.
And I'd like everyone to join me. Any comments, Commissioner Waldeck?
Should I make all the final comments now? Okay. Geez, I got more props. Here we go. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everyone who's came out tonight and who are appreciative of my efforts over the years. It has been an honor serving all of you. Lincoln said that the world will no longer remember what we say here. And that's absolutely true. I'd have the honor to serve with many people when I've been in committees and on council, that names that have been in the past that people don't remember. But they've done a really good job in serving our community. There's also the warning from Julius Caesar, Mark Antony's speech, the evil that men do live after them, and the good often turn with their bones. So I know some of the mistakes I made over the years will probably live with me. And be remembered more so than some of the good stuff, but that's the way it goes. These counts are going to take a little while, so for the folks on Gabber, I suggest that you take a snack, you set your microwave for about 10 minutes and then come on back. 30 years, it's been about 30 years I was in the University of Illinois Vision Center, and I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa. It's kind of a macular degeneration in reverse. And if you look at a TV screen, imagine the pixels on the edges start shutting off. And they keep shutting off and they work their way to the center. And that's pretty much describes what I've been going through. And I've been very lucky because the doctor also said he didn't know how long it would take. Gordon Gund of the Cleveland Cavaliers was a matter of months. Steve Wynn of Wynn Resorts, we're pretty much on the same track, although he put a cane through a $10,000 painting. I will never do that because I will never buy a $10,000 painting. And my first thought was, what do people do in DuPage County if they can't drive? Because you can move the city of Chicago, and they got transportation, they got buses and L's and things, and you can manage. What do you do in DuPage County? And so there was an ad in the, if some of you remember, the Village Corner in a paper called The Reporter, and the village was having a committee on transportation, and so I applied for it. I was interviewed by Commissioner Marilyn Schnell, who many of you remember, I hope. Our longest commissioner ever, standing member, she did the interviews. And so you can blame her for getting me started in all this. So I made the committee, but she also told me that the village had a taxi subsidy program for seniors and people with disabilities. And I got to tell you, the first thing I thought of was, what a terrific village. What a happy place. To live in a community that gives a damn about seniors and people with disabilities. And I was happy as all heck. And that started me on my road. As Mayor Tully mentioned about the buses, there was another committee. It was a subcommittee on the commuter shuttle, and I fought for that for years, and as did Mayor Tully. He was a commissioner then, and he came up with a funding program which was not popular. And he brought it up anyway. It passed. The shuttle continued, and finally was taken over by Pace. So that's something that continues today as a result of our working together. And I appreciate that. There was also another commission that was held at the county. I applied for that as a citizen member. It was called the IAPCC, because they like to have initials. And it was the Interagency Paratransit Coordinating Council. The key word there is paratransit, transportation for seniors and people with disabilities. And it consisted of 40 to 50, the county, municipalities, townships, and a number of nonprofits that all sat around a huge table to resolve transportation issues for seniors and people with disabilities. And we fought for years, and Pace came in and gave us the same report for years, and it wasn't going to work. And finally, I didn't stand up, but I put my fist on the table and I said, we got to do something without Pace. And the organization, the council did. They started a subsidy program similar to the one that we have here in Downers. And it was moving along, and then TJ Russ took over the Pace system, and he was into some innovation. And we came up with what is now Ride DuPage. Some of you may recognize the name of the program, and it's growing. And 5 years ago, they had their 1 millionth ride. So about now, they've had 2 to 3 million rides by now. And that, to me, is really a highlight. I was able to chair that council for 2 terms. And then, as usual, I took off some time and came back and served another term. Like I say, they're up to 3 million rides by now, and I'm very happy. It's a large achievement, not a singular one, but working with others. And in the meantime, I was keeping track of what was going on council, and they were talking about changes to the program and doing some other things, and I decided to run, and I got on council. And the thing I hear most often is that it's a thankless job. And I'm sure all of us have heard it's a thankless job. And you know something, that's not true. We get a lot of thanks when we go about our business around town, and people do thank us. Sometimes they just say, this is a well-run village. Our person who does the taxes says it's well-run, and its taxes are low comparatively. We've been saying that for years. People say nice things, and yeah, they have some issues. Maybe there's something we want to talk about, but they are very thankful. They are appreciative that somebody's doing the job, that we're up here doing the best we can, because we're all flawed, but we all bring something to the table, and we try, and so they are very appreciative. So now I'm going to thank some people. As the mayor mentioned, I'm going to thank my wife, Judy. We thank all of our spouses, do a heck of a job, and they put up with a lot of schedule changes and places to be, and just a lot of challenge for a spouse up here. But Judy has a particular challenge because she's not thrilled about driving, and she's probably more shy than than extroverted. So she tends to be quiet. So what do I do as a husband? I drag her out and make her drive when she doesn't want to drive. And I take her to places that she has to be more outgoing. And so it's an extra effort on her part. And she's just been absolutely terrific. And we will have 45 years in just a few months. And it's been a great 45 years, and I'd like to keep it going. So we'll take some time off. Also, I'd like to thank all the employees of our village, top to bottom, people who make decisions and people who have to put those decisions to work. When you pick up the phone and you call 911, you get a well-trained, well-equipped individual to address your emergency. And that doesn't happen everywhere. And it happens in about 4 minutes. And that's the goal, sometimes sooner, sometimes a little later, but about 4 minutes. And that's fabulous. That's a standard. And we've had the fortune to have great police chiefs and fire chiefs. The problem with them is that they get a little bit older and they retire. They can retire young. They can retire so young that they still want to work. And I think a challenge for not only this council, but all councils in the state is to change the process so that when we have a fire or police chief who qualifies for retirement, they can take their retirement and stay, rather than taking their retirement and having to move somewhere else. And that's a challenge. Not just for us, but that's state law, state doing it. I want to thank our Public Works Department. Such a wide variety of responsibilities. Streets, water, electricity, putting up decorations, plowing, all that stuff, and it's complex, and it's led by one of the top public works directors in the country, Nan Newland. I like to thank Nan for her service. I hope she can continue this for a long time in the future. We developed a bit of a relationship. I was on the policy, transportation policy with the DuPage Mayor's managers. And they have a lot of respect for her. And part of that committee that is to determine or set standards for getting money for various projects, road projects and the like. And when she walks into the room, they listen to her. And just a great asset to our community. Our planning department has done a great job, a lot of challenges. I appreciate all their work. And if you think zoning isn't important, when you put on the TV and you see a chemical fire from a factory in Texas, and right next door or very nearby are residential houses, because they don't have zoning, we have zoning. We are safer because of careful planning. Our IT department, I got to thank them. Oh, geez, I got to thank them. They've helped me see. I have software that goes on here that helps, and they put that in, they make sure it's working, and then when Dave and staff sends me PDFs, and every box is squared, imagine trying to read a document and every word has a box around it, or you touch it and it shrinks on you, and just all these anomalies. And our IT department has done a great job supporting me with these things. I thank them. I thank our executive staff. I think the new council should have a new resolution naming April Holden our fine village clerk and make it official. She said,
I can't make motions, or I would.
well, we'll leave that for the next group. She's one of a kind, and hopefully things are working out for her as far as enjoying her family and that. I think that's fabulous. Mike Baker has survived 3 village managers. He is a tremendous asset to this village with his knowledge and the way he picks up on things and contributes to our community. And as an advisor to Dave, great job. Our legal department, I appreciate all their work, trying to keep us out of trouble. We keep trying to get ourselves in trouble. So Enza tries, but I appreciate their help. And the reason why things work is because you need a leader, and Dave Fieldman is a great leader. We do policy things up here, and money and stuff like that. Dave has to execute, and he's been doing that for years now, and a really good job. However, Dave has over the last 12 years on a number of occasions came up with, hey Dave, I got an idea, or why don't we do this? And Dave says, Bill, you need 4 votes. Boom, stab in the heart. You need 4 votes. And these are things you normally wouldn't vote on. So recently I had the opportunity, and it was appropriate. I said, Dave, I need 4 votes, but you need 6. And I know it hit Dave the same way all those times the 4 votes hit me. No offense, but there's a little bit of joy in that, I guess. As far as our council members, I'll start with Greg here. I really didn't know I started kicking him off on this route, and I forgot because I'm called Senior Moments, or anyway. I didn't know you lost the first time, but I lost my first time too, and if it's while I had a 3-1 record. Some leaving, at least on a winning side. We worked together on the Meals on Wheels. I remember the previous time we approved it, he said no. He leaned over and said, no statements, no arguments, nothing. It's quiet. And it went through. We've worked on things, and the best to Greg and his family. Nicole has brought a lot of life to this council with her attitude and her decision-making. She's very much into it. She has connections. She makes connections in the community with the Rotary and others. She's done a splendid job, and I'm glad that she's going to be here for another 4 years. Commissioner Barnett, yes, we've had differences, but we've tried to work together, and we probably have on a number of occasions. What they say, 80-90% of the time we agree on things. It just doesn't boil over into the public. Mayor Tully, I'll go with Commissioner White. Commissioner White has been a good mayor pro tem. Very intelligent. Sometimes we get things on the agenda and then it comes with quite literally a white paper, an explanation or the way he sees an issue. And you read them and they're very well thought out. If there's formulas, there's math in there and everything you can imagine, and he lays that out for us to present his ideas and for us to work with him. Mayor Tully and I have been together a very long time. And as he said, there's times we agree, there's times we disagree. We saved the commuter shuttle. There's probably a number of other things that just don't come to mind right now, but he's been a good mayor. Hard, there's two parts to being mayor. There's this stuff, and there's meeting with business people and presenting yourself to the public as a mayor. And when it comes to the handshaking and the coffee with the council, when you get a complicated question, Martin's there with a response speaking for all of us. And he's been a splendid mayor, and he's going to be very, very hard to top. And I save my last comments to Marge Earl. Like Marge says, we've known each other for 12 years. She would sit in the back. She would tell Judy, I could tell Judy not to pick me up because Marge would give me a ride home on the way home. We'd talk issues, we'd yell issues, but we were always friends. It turned into, you'd start talking, and she would tell me, I'd discuss issues with her. She'd tell me what was going on while I was talking, whether people were sleeping or opening up their package or emailing. She could see all this from the back, and I can't see it up here. But then you start talking about family, and I got to know her family, she got to know mine. We are very good friends. And I will be there for her because she is a friend. She's not a Facebook friend. Well, maybe she is, I don't know, but it's not limited to that. And it's not a millennial friend. Hi, friend. It's, true friendship, and I do appreciate that. We all do. A couple more things. Give me a minute here. As Mayor Tully says, I like props. And I wasn't going to do props. But then Dave Fieldman says, Bill, are we going to have props? And I says, bring back the apple. So I'm going to make my comments to the new council now. I'm not going to bore them next time. They're going to be too excited, and they probably won't be listening anyway because of all the things going on. But they'll have challenges. And I always said, I brought out the apple, and for those of you who don't remember the apple, this is an apple core.
I think that's the original apple core.
Good, very, no, not that ripe yet. But anyway, this is a core. And we used to talk about core services. And this is what you get with core services. And that isn't what you go, when you go to the store, this is not what you want. You want the whole apple. You want it all. It's red, you want this. You don't go to the store and see a pile of these and say, gee, I want one of those. No, you buy one of these. This is what you want. This is not what you want in a village. This is what you want in a village. And contrary to popular belief, when you start making cuts and doing core stuff, they'll always say, and it doesn't matter whether it's at this level or the state level or federal level, when they start making cuts like this, that's easy. Making cuts and I worked for an outfit called AT&T, and they went this route. They went with the core. They were laying off and making cuts and saving money. In the meantime, Southwestern Bell was doing this. They were expanding. And now there is no more AT&T. AT&T is really Southwestern Bell that took over the name. So my challenge for the new council is don't get into this. Don't start making the cuts, because like that time I was told that we have a taxi subsidy program, that we care about people, that we're going to go out of our way. That's a tough decision. This is tough. This is easy. Do the tough stuff and make our village better. And finally, I want to thank all of you, all of the residents, for honoring me. It is truly an honor and a privilege to serve. It's been 12 years, a couple of decades of participation in committees and just attending meetings. But getting elected, having people check a box on a ballot. Okay, maybe you had to pick 3 out of 4, but just having that honor, I think it was maybe the worst was 3 out of 5, I don't know. But just having that honor has been the highlight of my life. And in a funny way, I got that honor because of a diagnosis, actually. So things turned out for the better. I've actually made apple juice from, I don't know, from a rotten apple, I guess. So thank you all very much, and good luck to the village. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I look forward to my retirement and the new council. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would have been deeply disappointed if I didn't see an apple core at some point in time this evening. Thank you very much. Moving along, the next person who will be leaving us that we would like to honor and celebrate is Commissioner Bill White. Commissioner White, it's your turn, so I'm going to go in the same order that I did before. So oh, no, Commissioner Earl's going to freak out if I do that, so. Commissioner Wallace, fresh from re-election, will dive in and save the day. Commissioner Wallace.
Thank you, Mayor. Like I stated earlier, I have written personal notes to everyone as I sit here and tear up. But Commissioner White was this is why I wrote notes. Commissioner White was the first person that I truly connected with when I arrived here. And he welcomed my family into his home. My daughter, who was 16 months at the time, drove cars over his forehead. And I have learned so much from him. Again, very honored to have served with him and everything else. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll stay over here and we'll give you a chance to recover.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wallach.
I just commented on Commissioner White, but I do appreciate...
You don't need to add anything, just give me the opportunity.
No, I appreciate his service and his intelligence and his approach to issues. And I'm sure they will continue after our retirements. I'm sure he will be around. And good luck to him and his family.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jose.
Thank you, Mayor. It doesn't take long serving with Commissioner White to find that perhaps, at least in my opinion, his greatest strength is his absolutely boundless creativity. When there is a challenge we're facing, he's got idea after idea after idea after idea on how we can fix it. And whether it comes in the form of a phone call or a text message or an email with a 3-page memorandum attached, he's going to put it out there, and he's going to advocate for it, and I always appreciated that. You are a true fountain of ideas, and we're all better off for it. So I thank you for all your ideas, all of your passion, and your service to Downers Grove. It's really been a lot of fun. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Barnett.
Thanks, Mayor. Bill, thank you. Thank you. Service is I think, people's highest calling. And when you find a place to serve, it's really important. And for those that don't know, Bill's time up here is just a small part of his service to our community. Whether it's frog work or STEM work or District 99 work or coaching baseball, Commissioner White has spent many years serving our community, and I think he's to be commended for that. I'm going to miss the challenge that Bill brings to be in the details. Details matter. I always try and say that, and there's nobody that pays attention to details more than Bill does. Sometimes 3-page memorandums, to be sure, but it's because he really cares and because he's into it. And thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Marge.
Bill and I go way back to almost as long as Commissioner Waldeck and I. Bill and I worked together on the Zoning Board of Appeals for
20 years.
Yeah, a million years. And what I know Bill to be is a collaborator. Bill is the ultimate collaborator. He's always looking for that middle ground where everyone can come together and try to be happy. And that's always comes with an optimistic outlook. The glass has to be at least half full if you're looking for a middle ground. And I appreciate his enthusiasm, his intelligence, his friendship, and his example. And I will miss you dearly, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'm going to invite the audience, if anyone would like to make any comments while I make my way over to the fabulous parting gifts. And that was a thing, so I have to do this again. So Commissioner Bill White and I go back a long, long ways, and we have engaged in discussions about issues involving Downers Grove, going back to before there were things like Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. And in all my engagements with Commissioner White, before he was commissioner, before I was mayor, I always knew that I was dealing with, at a minimum, a peer, if not more, because the conversations were always right on point, they were relevant, and they were backed up with facts and not accusations and supposition and whatnot. So I always enjoyed the conversations and the mental challenge. The other thing that, and let me just say that it has a consequence. It makes people better. You push people to be better at governing, better at decision making. Even if ultimately they disagree with you or your methods or anything else, it again causes us to stop and think and reaffirm our own positions and make sure that they are duly supported. And that's very valuable in any organization, particularly in one that is doing the people's work in a community like Downers Grove. I also have always admired Bill White because as someone who has a reputation for having an opinion on just about every issue that's related to policy and not afraid to speak his mind, he's not one to stand in the background and lob hand grenades and rocks and arrows. Bill White, as mentioned, has always stepped up and put his money where his mouth is. He's put his time and his effort in actually following through on the things that he thinks and he believes and he talks about. From his long career as chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals to his service on the District 99 board, including the president of that organization, and now the Village Council, and I suspect there may be more. And it's easy to disagree, it's easy to criticize, and it's easy to demand more. It's a lot tougher to actually do it and to be on the receiving end of those comments and to try to put it into action. So you are one of that has never shied away from that. In fact, you've embraced it with both hands and all 10 fingers, and I truly appreciate that. Bill White is somebody who loves to tell stories, sometimes more than once, or twice, or 3 times, maybe 4 times. And it is rumored that he had run a successful online betting site giving odds on how long my mayor's reports would last each evening. And I'm kind of wondering what the over-under is for tonight. People want to know. You are absolutely a policy wonk. You carefully study every issue from every angle, and then often identify angles that nobody else thought of. Something to explore, creativity, innovation. And yes, those 3-page memos, and those were on a light day, those 3-page memos often included algebra, physics, and diagrams. You always supported your thoughts, and you weren't afraid to share them, and again, challenging others to think differently and come at an issue or a problem in a different way. I appreciated not only serving with you, but having you serve as the Mayor Pro Tem. Having been a Mayor Pro Tem under 2 different mayors, I know what's involved in that job. It's herding the proverbial cats, because the job of Mayor Pro Tem is varied, and it means communicating and connecting with all the council members, identifying any issues and whatnot, and making sure that I have a heads up before something is about to happen that I might not appreciate the surprise for. And Bill, you have a talent for that. You have a talent for dialogue and building consensus among people with disparate views, and ultimately channeling them in a way that we can move forward and solve a problem for the good of the village. And I've always appreciated your willingness to jump in and either run a meeting or go to an event or be the face of the village when I couldn't do it. Having done it as a Mayor Pro Tem before, I know what's involved and I greatly appreciate it. You, sir, are an astute public servant, and for that, I and this community are very grateful. I'm equally grateful to your lovely wife, Karen. Thank you for sharing Bill with us, and thank you to your family for the sacrifices they made to allow him to do this, because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to make the contributions that he did. And I want to thank you for your service to our community. And of course, we have fabulous prizes. We have the flag, which is very important. And of course, you have this authentic, one-of-a-kind, custom-made street sign, Bill White Court. I have a feeling I know where this is going. And when I come over, I want to see it there. And of course, we also have a very nice, very handsome commemoration in recognition of your dedicated public service as Commissioner of the Village of Downers Grove 2015 to 2019. Commissioner White, thank you very much for your service.
Commissioner White, do you have any comments?
Naturally enough, Commissioner Jose's comments remind me of one of my favorite stories.
I'm glad to be of service.
Wait. No, you have to find out if I've heard it or not. Maybe you haven't. And I'm sure many in the audience haven't either, or if you have, you're going to hear it again. It's about Newt Gingrich. And one of Newt Gingrich's colleagues in Washington said many years ago, perhaps a long time ago now, that Newt was a man of immense, large numbers of ideas. He had an enormous number of ideas. In fact, you needed a giant warehouse to keep all the file cabinets, to store all of Newt Gingrich's ideas. Now, in that, this fellow, this colleague of his in Washington continued, this very small room with a very tiny file cabinet. And that should put his good ideas. So hopefully, I have a higher ratio of good ideas to ideas, because everyone has ideas. Now, so thank you for that opportunity.
Glad to be of service.
6 years ago, after serving 4 years on the District 99 Board of Education, I decided not to run again. 2 years later, I was here. Okay. Well, I didn't run this time. Either 2020, 21, don't know yet. We'll have to see. So I doubt that I'm gone. But where has not been decided yet. Probably, if I'm going to say thank you, the people I most want to say thank you to is village staff. I want a community to know that this is a very well-run village, and I forgot, there's actually a story explaining that. A few years ago, I got an email from an angry constituent saying that we weren't doing the types of things he wanted us to do. And I said, well, we're doing all this stuff. He says, no, you're not doing that. Staff's doing that. The village practically runs itself. And I said, that's the point. Okay, that's the point of a council manager form of government, is that we set high-level direction, and I don't know how to run a village, but these people do. And we have an outstanding staff at all levels. Bill Waldeck went through the list. I hesitate to go through the list because I'll forget somebody who deserves to be mentioned. Everybody deserves to be mentioned. But at the end, it's the 3 senior leaders who have created a phenomenal organization. Makes my job easy. I had that at District 99 under Hank Feeley's predecessor, Mark McDonald. He was a phenomenal superintendent. It was easy to be board president. And it doesn't mean we rubber stamp what you do. It doesn't mean we say whatever you want, you're the boss. No, we look closely at what staff does. But if they're doing it right, please proceed. Don't interfere. Don't micromanage. Please proceed. And I've been blessed with that. It's made this job surprisingly easy because staff is phenomenal. I'll save my comments for Martin Tully after we get to his part of this presentation. But I really do appreciate everyone else up here. Nicole Wallace brings a passion, an emotional honesty, a commitment to caring about the community, which I find very impressive. I said earlier when we spoke about Bill Waldeck cares about people most of us in this town don't know exist. And he cares about people that most of us don't know exist. And we should know they exist. And thanks to him, we pay attention to them. And that's extraordinarily important. Greg Jose brings an important perspective on this. Bob Barnett and I haven't always seen eye to eye on a number of issues, but I think we actually had more unanimous votes than you might realize. At the end of the day, we came to things. And as Marjo said, she and I have known each other from the Zoning Board of Appeals, forget how long, 20, 25 years, a long time since we're on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I was on that board a long time on the ZBA. So I don't have any more lengthy prepared remarks. I think I pretty much have covered so the high points of what I want to say. I just want to thank everybody. So thank you.
Okay, you thought you were done, but you're not. We have one more person we need to say goodbye to, and if I were to do it myself, I'd be accused of taking a selfie, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask Mayor-elect Barnett to please do the honors.
Mayor, this is going to be a challenge to keep this down to something that fits on our tape. I'm sure people are trying to gather their thoughts right now, and so as they do that, thank you will be certainly the theme, but you're going to hear a lot more tonight from people who really appreciate your service. It's been exemplary in every fashion, and we're better for it. So I'm going to follow your lead. I'm going to head out there with a few things, and perhaps, Marge, since you're sitting right next to me, I'll put you on the spot. You could start with whatever comments you might have about Mayor Tully.
This doesn't get any easier for me tonight. Marty, I've watched you since your council days. And the issue that brought me to the council chambers the first time, you and I did not see eye to eye on. Yet, I could appreciate and respect your views, and you always laid out the argument as Mayor Pro Tem back then. And I found when you left that there was nobody I missed more than you. I just sat up there going, I wish Martin was here to explain all of the little details that I just heard, because sometimes this heavy language gets to you and it's not in plain English. And you've always tried to lay it out in plain English for everyone. And I was the first one at your door, I think, with the check, going, please, please, please run for mayor, please. And as the leader of this community, Bob, you've got a hard row to hoe. The shoes you leave to fill are immense. You have been everywhere. You have time and time again tossed yourself on grenades for this community, and picked yourself back up and dusted yourself off and gone forward and represented us with dignity and honor, and been places where we didn't know we needed to be and led us there. And for that, I thank you. I thank you for the example you have set. I thank you for the boost up as a person, as a woman. You have been a champion of everyone's rights, and I thank you for it.
Thank you, Marge. I appreciate that.
Oh, notes in your backs.
Do I have a letter from you?
I mean, just tonight. Sometimes I like to write our mayor notes before the meeting on his notepad. So our staff had recently changed things up, and our little paper pad is now stapled, and so we've all had a joke about the change, and so I wrote, "More staples, Mayor," 2 exclamation points. I remember when I first got appointed, and Mayor Tully called me to meet with me, and I was terrified. We didn't know each other from Adam. I didn't know anyone up here. I was not in any political arena. No one knew me. No one knew who I was. And so he asked to meet with me, and I remember being so incredibly nervous to meet the mayor. And was, even at that meeting, very nervous. He was like, "Do you want something to eat?" I'm like, "No." I might have just had water. I'm not sure. I was freaking out. And since then, I have gotten to truly know our mayor, and we're all kind of figureheads up here, but when you get to know each one of us individually and what's underneath, I mean, he is extremely generous, extremely intelligent, was very welcoming to me, has been a wonderful mentor, and I can't imagine, I'm sorry, Bob, again, what it's going to be like to follow him and that charisma. We practically should share a microphone, because the 2 of us up here are the loudest people that really don't even need microphones. And I know that he is going to obviously continue to be engaged and will do well in anything that he does, because he really is truly a fantastic person. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. I appreciate that.
Martin, well, Commissioner White brought up something, and it occurred to me that none of my comments are going out on cable TV tonight because I didn't thank Doug Kozlowski and staff. I did say all employees, but I didn't want to minimize Doug. There is a word that goes around Village Hall. It's called Dougatize. If you have an issue or something, you Dougatize it. And him and his staff have done a fabulous job, and Dan Wilson Company. have been here since I started, and they do a tremendous job getting the word out, as does Mayor Tully. The mayor's job, mayor position, is only one vote, and like the mayor's pointed out, he can't make motions or second. So it's one vote with one hand tied behind your back. But it's running the meetings, and that's only a part of it. And what makes Martin a hard act to follow is his availability and the way he conducts himself on the other half of the job, is being there. He used the word on someone else, but I'll use it on. He's ubiquitous, and he's all over, and willing to step up and take the tough questions when people ask, and things that we would shrug ourselves and try not to say anything. He'll stand up and he'll provide a response, and it's always well thought out, and always grandiloquent. So I'd say it's a tough act, and not just for Bob, but I can't think of anyone who could serve 100% the way we have as commissioner, as mayor pro tem, and as mayor. So I wish you the very best in the future, you and Shannon. And I know it's going to be tough to walk away. You think it's easy? Yeah, there's a lot of extra time that you're going to have on your hands now that you'll be able to devote to other things. I'm sure you'll handle those well, but the village will miss you as a mayor. And thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Mayor, I'm not sure anybody could put it better than Michael Casa did last Friday. At the last EDC meeting that Mayor Tully was on the board for, he said that, and I might get this wrong, but it was something to the effect of, if Hollywood were casting a mayor, it would be Martin Tully. And I think he absolutely hit it on the head. It's the presence, whether it's the sense of humor, the music references, whether out here on the dais or the lyrics you used to leave on the whiteboard back in Mike Baker's office, the sports radio announcer voice, TV references, movie references. You've always got something in there that if you're really paying attention, you're going to pick up on, and it's going to make you laugh. It's the Phil Donahue act during meetings in the committee room, or when we were doing facilities and you were all over the room handing the microphone out and everything. It's the consummate professionalism. There's nobody better prepared, nobody better reasoned, and nobody better spoken. And we are better off as a village for your leadership, better off as a council for your leadership, and I know that I'm a better commissioner than I was when I joined this council because of your example. And I can't say thank you enough. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate it. It's getting harder to turn.
Well, I'll start with the sort of a small dig, it'll be the only one. As I'm very pleased with the nickname I came up for you, Loquacious of Borg.
And I accepted it.
Given your interest in science fiction and your ability to use 27 words when 7 would probably suffice. But I do want to echo very quickly what Greg Jose said, and that is professionalism. And I thought about it, I wasn't in my notes, but that fits perfectly. The entire time I've known you, consummate professional. And that's really outside the theme of the rest of my comments, but it's absolutely spot on. You've always been the consummate professional. But I'm going to talk briefly about why I believe you've been an outstanding mayor these last 8 years, and why Downers Grove has been very well served from 2011 up through now. First on my list, and these aren't necessarily in order of importance, is I think you truly understand the role of the mayor. within the council manager form of government. Therefore, you know what your role is, and you perform it admirably. I've also observed that you understand the need to subordinate your own personal opinion when the majority of council wasn't going with you. That you've absorbed differences of opinion when you know you're going to be on the losing end of something, with grace, with equanimity, and with a commitment to have the council function. Having served in the center chair for 2 years at District 99, I very much appreciate, because I tried to do that too, that people said to me, well, you're not doing this the way you want. Well, I don't have 4 votes. so I can't do it that way. And the success of the organization, the success of this council, the success of the village was more important to you than getting your way on various issues. As you know, you and I disagree sometimes strenuously on issues, but again, I always respected your professionalism, and I always respected your ability to set aside that and move forward for the best interests of the community. And then the third item, it segues on what Craig Jose said, and I really did steal this from Michael Casa. There is nobody I can imagine in the village who will have better mayoral presence than you. You present yourself as the mayor. Outside Downers Grove, with 37,000 committees and organizations that you belong to, always reporting back on this meeting and that meeting, you've been an outstanding representative and ambassador for Downers Grove, the DuPage Mayors and Managers, the Metropolitan Caucus, the Illinois Municipal League, pretty much everywhere. You've represented Downers Grove admirably with the same professionalism, the same passion, and we're all better off for it. And then inside Downers Grove, there is nobody ever going to light that Christmas tree with more enthusiasm. Ever. It's impossible to light the Christmas tree with more enthusiasm. No one will wear a more hideous 4th of July flag shirt. And you always take such great pleasure at drawing the first beer at Valley Doyle's on St. Patrick's Day. And I'm reminded, I actually very recently just read the autobiography by Pete Buttigieg, the mayor of South Bend, who now she's running for president. And something very interesting that he wrote, and I wish I'd gotten the quote from it, that he started off as mayor thinking policy mattered. But then as he grew into the job, he said, I came to realize my presence as mayor was often more important than the ideas I brought or the policy that I brought. That my simply being there as mayor, they didn't care what I said. You know, they weren't worried about my policy. They wanted me to be present as mayor. And I'm not sure anybody in history of Downers Grove probably has ever done it better. And no one will ever do it better at that mayoral presence. So I'm very proud to work with you. You know, we have our battles, but I think we've always respected each other. I've always respected you. And I wish you the best of luck. You have plenty to do, I'm sure. You have plenty to do. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it very much.
Anybody else like to take a few minutes to the podium? Please, Christine, go ahead.
As they say on the infomercials, but wait, there's more.
Hello, Mayor Tully.
Good evening.
So good evening. This is the last time I'll stand up here and address you as mayor, so I'll relish that. But I do want to say so many thanks to you from myself personally, but also from our friends at the Edwards House. You have been a terrific support for us in developing the ad hoc committee, which really launched so many, and as Stan said tonight, 25, though we're not part of the landmarking of the graveyard or the cemetery, we still, that counts. It's a 25th landmark. And you were such an enormous part of all of that, as also Commissioner White and Commissioner Waldeck. So to both of you gentlemen, thank you as well. So on a personal note, because of my involvement with Friends of the Edwards House, I am blessed that I've gotten to know you well, to know your lovely wife Shannon, and I have a tremendous respect for you. I always am in awe as you speak, that you get up and off the cuff a few times I've followed behind you, and I've just mumbled away, because again, both you and Shannon so often, you specifically, you have a presence, as Bill just said, Commissioner White just said, you have a presence that is a commanding presence, and both my husband and I, Bo, we have a respect for you, and we're grateful to know you and call you friend. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Probably recognize some of these.
Vaguely familiar.
Mayor Tully, you may recall sitting on the park bench across from the Tivoli in 2009.
I do.
I had the challenge of following in your footsteps on the council, and now the challenge of following in your footsteps in the middle chair. It's not possible to fill your shoes. It's just simply not. The best any of us can hope for is to do an honorable, admirable job and work hard. You are an impossible act to follow, and I mean that in the most sincere way. You do a fantastic job. Martin Tully's our 28th mayor. 28 mayors. It's a pretty short list in the history of Downers Grove. It's a big deal, and we're all better for it. Leadership expert and author and pastor John Maxwell said, "The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, the leader adjusts the sails." Adjusting the sails may be the best description of what municipal government does, and Mayor Tully has led our community, successfully adjusting the sails for nearly 2 decades. Martin Tully is a 1983 graduate of Downers Grove North High School, was first elected to the council in 2001. Martin's an unstoppable force, and he jumped right into the seemingly immovable object called politics and village government. But under constant Tully pressure, politics, and more importantly, policy on behalf of the village moved, and it moved for the better. Martin served as village commissioner from 2001 through 2009, leading a transformation and rejuvenation of Downers Grove from a sleepy, fading bedroom community to a vibrant leader in all of DuPage County. In 2011, Martin returned to serve as mayor and continued to lead the hard work of maintaining the balance between tradition and progress, often reminding us that 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. Beyond the dais, Martin has served Downers Grove well beyond the dais. There is perhaps no bigger cheerleader in the history of Downers Grove than Martin Tully. I mean that with all sincerity, Martin. It's fantastic to watch you cheerlead on behalf of our community, in our community and outside as well. He's been a director on the Downers Grove Economic Development Corporation Board, an advisory council to the Family Shelter Services, board member of Hope's Front Door, member of the Downers Grove Lions Club, member of the Friends of the Edwards House, founding member of Grade School District 58 Foundation. The list is endless. Every time you turn around, Martin is there representing our village and cheerleading everyone that's here to do better on behalf of the community. But it's not been limited to Downers Grove. Martin's leadership goes well beyond our community. Through hundreds of meetings, thousands of hours, he's represented our community and its interests to those outside Downers Grove, where he's helped serve a greater public good beyond our community, bringing our community's values and work ethic to other organizations. Martin served as president of DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. He served on the DuPage County Stormwater Committee, the DuPage Public Safety Communications, DuPage Convention Visitors Bureau, member of DuPage County Department of Public Health Services and the Abatement Task Force. The list is endless. He's also served his community through education as a board member of the DePaul University College Law Center for Public Interest. Martin's presence is felt everywhere. It's felt in our community, outside our community, and broadly within his profession. Professionalism, as Commissioner White said, is probably the best word for Martin Tully. In 2015, Martin Tully was named Governmental Leader of the Year by the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference, where they cited specifically his voice of reason in leadership during challenging times. We here in Downers Grove couldn't have agreed more, but by then we'd already experienced it. We'd already been witness and beneficiaries of Martin's leadership for over a decade. Got a few small mementos, which you probably know what some of them look like. There's the flag, and this thing, which could be a weapon. Be very careful.
I like multitaskers.
And Martin Tully Drive, which hopefully will find a prominent place inside your home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm well trained to stand still when the camera's on.
Nicely done, Mayor. Couple more things. We'd be negligent if we didn't take a moment to thank Martin's wife Shannon, and boys Martin and Ryan. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your dad, your husband with our community. There's no doubt the sacrifices of the whole Tully family, which have allowed Martin the time and room to serve, have benefited Downers Grove. We appreciate every minute of it. Truly, Martin, many thanks. Many thanks. Many thanks. Many thanks. Many thanks for your service and dedication to our community. Downers Grove is better for your service, and there's no higher praise for a leader. Cheers to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You don't know how much that means to me. Thank you all. It's 8:37, so I'm going to try to keep my comments brief. No, I'm lying. I'm incapable of doing that, as you know. I'm going to start with a date, May 1st, 2001. May 1st, 2001 was when I first stood in front of this same dais and was sworn in by an appellate court judge of the 2nd District, Illinois Appellate Court, Thomas E. Callum. And in a ceremony that will be replicated on May 7th, the old council met, took care of some business, then they adjourned sine die, and then the new people were sworn, we sat down. And May 1st, 2001 was the first day that I took a seat up here. It wasn't up here. In fact, I'm pretty sure I was in where Mayor-elect Barnett is sitting right now. I don't know if it meant anything or not, but that very first night, and this is a little bit of a preview for the new council, if you think you're not going to get hit with stuff right off the bat, that very first night, literally moments after I was sworn in, the new council had a motion to appoint an acting village manager. That was one of the first things that I did. Right off the bat, we had to choose who was going to be leading the village to implement the policy decisions that we made as a community. Maybe I should have known what I was in for at that point in time. And then to fast forward, as some have noted, I served 2 4-year terms as a commissioner, 6 as a mayor pro tem, 2 under some under Mayor Krajewski and then some under Mayor Sandak. And then because, as I've often said, this is about public service, it's not a career choice. Believe me, honey, it's not a career choice. I'm speaking to my wife. I left and did not run, and Bob quite aptly recalled a conversation where we chatted because he was then deciding to run for what was, I don't know if it was an open seat, because there's never it's no one's seat, there's seats that are available. And as far as I knew, I was finished. But then Marge Earl showed up on my door 2 years later with a check, and I had to run for mayor. But maybe it was another indication, because on May 3rd, 2011, when I stood in front of the same spot and was sworn in as the mayor of the 28th mayor of Downers Grove, thank you, I didn't know that, by a newly appointed judge, Tim McJoint. The very first thing that I voted on as mayor that night after the new council was seated was the new requirement of term limits. I didn't know if a message was being sent to me or not, but my point of telling you that story is that I knew that night, on May 3rd, 2011, that I had at most 8 years as mayor, and I knew that I needed to make the best of them. And that meant I needed to work with a lot of people and a lot of folks, both on the volunteer side and on the actual working people side, to do what we can for this community. I'm very grateful to the residents of Downers Grove for giving me the opportunity to serve, to lead this terrific community. It's been an amazing journey. It really has. This is an incredibly engaged, informed, and yes, demanding community. But we're all the better for it, and you make us better because you are. Every time I'm asked by a reporter or anybody, what's the best part of being mayor? My answer has always been the same. The best part of being the mayor of Downers Grove has been the people that I've met. The people that I've met, the organizations that I've come into contact with, the missions that I've seen undertaken, the movements, the people, all of which I would have never otherwise had occasion to meet or get to know. And that's made me a much better person for those people that I've met. All of them have touched me in some way. I'm very proud of the things that we've accomplished together through dialogue. Some will call it debate. I prefer to call it dialogue. and reaching consensus, because that's what it's about. There are 7 people up here for a reason. If everybody agreed on everything and everyone had the right answer, we wouldn't need a council of 7 people. We'd only need one, and that person would be some kind of platonic guardian that would just dispense wisdom at random and would always be right. Well, it doesn't work that way. You have to work with folks, you have to work with a lot of folks, both here and beyond, in order to get things done. And that's something that we have to do. I've greatly learned from this experience. It has made me better, it's made me better in both my professional and personal life. So I really am appreciative of those heartfelt comments about the professionalism of myself, but I've learned and benefited so much from the people I've worked with in this experience. It's made me a better lawyer, it's made me a better person. It's really, it's improved me. So thank you for that. Robert Baden-Powell famously said, "Try to leave this world a little better than you found it. And when your turn comes to die, you can die happy in feeling that at any rate, you've not wasted your time, but have done your best." Now, I have no plans to shuffle off of this mortal coil anytime soon, but I'm fairly satisfied that the village is better off than I found it since first being elected commissioner in 2001 and continuing to being elected as mayor in 2011. Surely there are more things to be done. The next council has their work cut out for them, no question about it. But we've made great strides in a lot of places since 2001, and I started making a list, and I realized that if I did the whole list, people would get up and leave, and so I'm just going to give you some examples. Our financial situation. We didn't have a AAA bond rating in 2001. We have for a number of years, and we continue to maintain it. We've had continuously balanced budgets during that time. And as I often say, we've had no property tax hike for operations for 8 years running. It's not easy to do. It takes a lot of hard work by a lot of good men and women. And I read somewhere on some watchdog site that the Downers Grove Village budget since 2001 has shrunk 21%, while the village itself has expanded. That also defies physics, even Bill White's physics. That was a compliment. Comprehensive plan. When I first started in 2001, we didn't have a well, we did have a comprehensive plan, but it had been adopted in 1965, which coincidentally is when I was born, though it was really old. We not only now have a new comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2011, but we have won awards for that comprehensive plan, and now, I'm glad to say, we update it regularly. So, new council, it's on your to-do list. We have a strong economy in an uncertain world. We have a vibrant downtown. I often tell the story of when before I had anything to do with being on the village council, I used to work in the city, come home very late at night. We had young children. There was no way in the world my wife Shannon was going to come and pick up my sorry butt from the train station at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So I used to take a taxi. We didn't have Uber back then. And the taxi drivers had a little joke about what they called downtown Downers Grove. It was called Downers Grave, because after 6 o'clock, it was dead. Walk around downtown Downers Grove today. Not only did we, once upon a time, win a top 10 downtowns by the Chicago Tribune, but you can see that not only is our downtown thriving, but there are people who don't live in Downers Grove who are constantly frequenting our downtown, and it's a wonderful thing to see. Ogden Avenue has been revamped and revitalized. Our Class A office parks are headquarters of major corporations. Some of the largest redevelopment projects in the county are here in Downers Grove. We had, I will say politely, and with no offense to those who participated at the time, a struggling internal economic development commission in 2001. Today we have an independent EDC corporation that other communities seek to emulate. Better planning. Our long-range planning process is fantastic. It's clearly what Bill White said about it almost runs itself. And that's because the planning is so well done and it's so expertly done that it makes for a beautiful budget process. I actually tried to find somewhere in my records one of the old budgets, but I had gotten rid of them. The lazy gentlemen, they were like this. Wait till you see the budget proposal for the next year. It doesn't look like that at all because it's so streamlined and so efficient. Quality services. I've said this before in State of the Village, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but since 2001, our police are CALEA rated excellent. Our fire department is ISO class rated 1, or ISO 1 rated. Public Works, we have top 10 Public Works Director, Green Fleet Awards. Stormwater Management, as Bill Waldeck pointed out a couple of weeks ago, in 2001, I actually found the packet. We were under audit from DuPage County for stormwater permitting practices. That was in 2001. Earlier this year, we received an award from a state organization for excellence in stormwater management. Oh, what a long way we've come, baby. Historic preservation. In 2001, we didn't even have a historic preservation ordinance. We didn't adopt one until 2007, and then it took years and some improvements before it really kicked into gear. After it was adopted in December of 2015, at that time, we only had 2 places in the whole village that had been landmarked. Today, as you heard, we have 26, and the pipeline is full. That's just fantastic. Talk about preserving the balance between tradition and progress. Infrastructure. There was a time when our roads were way behind where they should be. Not anymore. Sidewalk matrix, which was the topic of conversation at every single meeting back in the 2000s, is pretty much complete. The stormwater project analysis. We didn't have what was then called the WIP. Now it's called the SPA, because first we whip, then we spa. That was for my other son, he'll get that joke. We had inconsistent and spotty stormwater funding. Now we have dedicated stormwater funding, which, by the way, is a component in that AAA bond rating. Very important. And we have stricter, more enhanced stormwater regulations. Parking transportation, Belmont Underpass, the downtown parking deck. I remember somebody standing at that podium, well, maybe it wasn't that podium, but that podium, shaking their finger at us saying, why are you building that monstrosity? No one will ever use it. And now we have people standing 10, 15 years later, why don't you build another one? Parking is a good problem to have, as irritating as it can be. Back in 2001, there was lots of parking downtown. That's because there was nobody there. And I won't go into the buses because Bill Waldeck already described that solution quite capably. We are much better at intergovernmental cooperation. Our relationship with District 58, District 99, the Park District, the Sanitary District is on par with no other community, and we're very proud of those relationships. Bob talked about the regional leadership and innovation. I won't repeat that, other than to point out that our village manager, Dave Fieldman, also received the Governmental Leader of the Year award, and also, I believe, the award for intergovernmental cooperation or something. So, 2-time DMMC award winner sitting over there. That's your village manager, ladies and gentlemen. The following words from N.R. Naranya Murthy, which I read during this last State of the Village address, kind of sum up how I feel as I leave office about 3 weeks from today. Probably at this point in time, I'll be having a beverage and congratulating the new council. He said, when you run a part of a relay and then you pass on the baton, there is no sense of unfinished business in your mind. There is just the sense of having done your part to the best of your ability. And I'd like to think that, and I really appreciate hearing it, that when I knew I only had 8 years back when the first thing I voted on was my own demise, I think we used those 8 years pretty wisely. So I wanted to set the table, but now I really want to spend some time thanking the people that really deserve the thanks and all those kind words. Because if I could package them up and hand them out in something like this and give them to a lot of people who are at 801 and at Public Works and at our fire stations and our police station, I would. I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Mean Girls, right? Everyone's seen Mean Girls. All right, so the end, when she wins the tiara because she doesn't expect to win, she breaks it off and starts throwing it out in the audience because all these other people deserve it. If this was a tiara, I'd be breaking it off and throwing pieces to all of you because you really deserve it. None of this could have been accomplished. None of these things I just listed could have been accomplished without the collective dedication and weighty contributions of others. I owe much thanks to my past and present village council colleagues. Brian Krajewski, Mark Zabadil, Mike Gilbert, Marilyn Schnell, Sue McConnell, Tom Sissel, Ron Sandak, Sean Durkin, Stan Urban, Bruce Beckman, Jeff Neustadt, Becky Rankin, David Olson, Gina Vitimo, and of course, Bill Waldeck, not once but twice, Bill White, Greg Jose, Marge Earl, Nicole Wallace, and Mayor-elect Bob Barnett. It is a group effort, believe me. As I said, I will save my remarks in wisdom, if I have any, for the new mayor and council at the May 7th meeting. But I also want to thank the numerous community volunteers who have served on our boards and commissions over the years. You are an extension of this council and our staff, and we couldn't do what we do without you. We also have to thank all the council's residents who have passionately engaged with the village council from time to time, helping to make us better public servants. I was looking at some old minutes, and we all remember Frank Falish who, no matter what we were doing, basically told us that we were no good. And that may be hard to take, but it does press you to challenge you as to why you are doing what you should be doing, notwithstanding comments. Like my colleagues, I am deeply, deeply grateful to all the extraordinary men and women who are and have been part of our village staff. I've had the privilege of working with 3 different managers, 2 different village attorneys, several public works directors, several directors of community development, several fire chiefs, several police chiefs, several finance directors, 1 village clerk, the constant in the universe, April Holden, 1 voice of Downers Grove, the incomparable Doug Kozlowski, and of course, the Zen master himself, the one and only Mike Baker, who has always been the hub of the spoke of the wheel on which the universe turns. Some people ask me, what are some of the best decisions I ever made as mayor or as a commissioner? And I answer those very quickly. Number 1, we decided to hire Dave Fieldman. Number 2, we decided to hire Enza Petrarca. We have exceptional leadership and staff in this community. And ladies and gentlemen, I know this from DuPage mayors and managers working with 35 other communities. These 2 are on par with anyone else, if not beyond, in this county. They are looked at as leaders, and when they speak, people listen. As a community, we are truly blessed to have some of the best municipal professionals in the nation, working for us every day to make Downers Grove an exceptional place to live, learn, work, and play. I will deeply miss working with all of you. But don't think I won't hesitate to pick up the phone and email and call and complain about something, because I will. And I have all your cell phone numbers, so you better change them. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank my family who are here tonight for their support, their tolerance, and their humbling perspectives. My parents, Martin and Joyce, without whom I could not even ever have imagined doing something as audacious as being the mayor of a town like Downers Grove. My siblings, my sister Joyce, my brother Mike, my brother Scott, who, God help them, have been out there in past campaigns knocking on doors, contributing, helping in every way. I couldn't have better siblings than the 3 of you. I love you all. My sons, Martin and Ryan, also conscripted into all types of campaign work that they really didn't want to do. But I feel it was worth it because you will not find 2 other millennials that are as knowledgeable and in-depth and plugged into what happens at local government than those 2, because they've been dragged through it for 16 years. I have to pause and just remember my grandfather, Richard Grubzinski. I mention him because when I was first sworn in as mayor, it was on the day of his 95th birthday. And it was a very special night for that reason, and we are so lucky that we only just recently lost him at the age of 102. You may remember him as the person who was in the Model T waving during the parade until he got too old to be able to do it, but he really enjoyed his connection to Downers Grove as well. My wife Shannon, more than anyone will ever know, she has been such a huge part of all of this. She has been my sounding board, my voice of reason, my toughest critic, and my most vocal defender. I could not have done it without you, and you deserve this more than I do. And yes, so we've experienced a lot of the last 16 years. Great recession. Gosh, one of the first things that happened after I was elected mayor was we had a Category EF1 tornado hit Downers Grove. How's that for a wake-up call? We've survived 100-year floods that seem to happen every 3 years. We had power outages in this chambers. We even had a tornado cover drill. We had to go down into the bomb shelter. Good to know there is one to go protect yourself just in case. We've celebrated a new fire station, a new parking deck. The 175th anniversary of the founding of Downers Grove took place then. And we survived 9/11. That was the first year of my serving this community, and the world changed. And it changed a lot of different things. But we came through it, and we came through it stronger. We've talked about everything from compaction to chickens, from TIFs to tree canopies, public pensions to LPDAs, Heritage Festival to homelessness, garbage pickup to gateway signs, open burning, you get it. Don't feed the squirrels. In the very first council member report I ever gave, after being sworn in on May 1st, 2001, I said, quote, "These are exciting times for the village, and I look forward to working with the council members, staff, and residents," unquote. Today, these are still very exciting times for the village, and to paraphrase William Shakespeare, the world is your oyster. I have immensely enjoyed working with everyone, and again, thank you for the opportunity to do so. It's been an honor and a privilege. And I want to say God bless you and God bless Downers Grove, but I almost forgot something very important. Wait, please remember, there are only 65 days left until the 10th annual Rotary Grove Fest. And with that, God bless you and God bless Downers Grove. Thank you. You're all very kind. It's greatly appreciated and very heartfelt. And I'd like to say that that was a walk-off home run and we could all just leave. But as they say in the business, we have some work yet to do. That was only item 8 on our agenda tonight. There will be a short 20-minute intermission, and then we'll come back. No, I'm just kidding. We do have a few other things to wrap up, although I think this will go mercifully briefly. And I do want to thank everyone for your kind words and the applause and the ovation. It's going to be with me for the rest of my life. Thank you. Item 9, council member reports. This is an opportunity for members of the village council to either share with those here or watching at home goings-on and other items of interest in the community, or to report out in their roles as liaisons to other boards and commissions. And yes, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I'm still on a few of those boards, so I may have something I have to add. Why don't we start with Commissioner Jose?
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned earlier, the EDC met this past Friday. The Economic Development Corporation was the top sponsor for the annual Dealmakers Forum of the Commercial Alliance of the Main Street Organization of Realtors. It's a regional association of real estate brokers with more than 16,000 members, and its home office is here in Downers. Michael Casa was one of the keynote speakers at the event. The EDC annual luncheon is June 25th at the Doubletree Suites, and of course, everyone on council is invited, and I look forward to seeing everybody there. And the DuPage Convention and Visitors Bureau will unveil its plan to promote sports tourism at an event on May the 10th at Cantini in Wheaton. Michael Casa is a member of the DuPage Sports Advisory Committee, and the Downers Grove Visitors Bureau is an active member of the DuPage Convention and Visitors Bureau. And we look forward to their continued efforts to bring more tourism and sports events to DuPage County and Downers Grove. And that's my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for your service on the EDC, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Waldeck.
I have no report, Mayor.
Thank you for your service on the Downtown Management Board.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wallace.
No report, Mayor.
Let's see. Mayor-elect Barnett.
I have no report, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for your service in the library as liaison. Commissioner Earl.
I have a report, Mayor. Pierce Downer Heritage Alliance is supporting Founders Day this year by celebrating spring with a guided wilderness walk in Lyman Woods, Saturday, April 27th. The hike will depart at 1 p.m. from the Interpretive Center, and you can find out more at Pierce Downer Heritage Alliance or pdha.org. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And Commissioner White.
I do have a report, and I have slides.
Slides.
But this should go very fast. We spoke much this evening about Commissioner Waldeck's passionate commitment to protecting seniors and advocating for seniors within Downers Grove. The DuPage County Senior Citizens Council does this countywide, and they've also now partnered with Kane County as well. And they're the organization that takes this, yeah. And one of the two major fundraisers is Saturday, May 11th, 2019, from 6 p.m. to midnight. And I have a personal interest in this because they have so-called celebrity dancers, and I'm one of the celebrity dancers.
Nice.
So if you choose to attend this dinner, you can support me in my role as a celebrity dancer. And we can move on to the next slide. If you wish to attend the dinner, the price is only $25, but includes an open bar and a lot of dancing, both to the Fred Astaire and individually. You can contact me. You can go through the DSSC website, or you can just Google Dancing with the Stars with a Z. That solves certain copyright issues. And
Darn lawyers.
or you can buy a sponsorship. The sponsorships start as low as $25. So you can track it through the same way and buy a sponsorship for $25. And this is a group that does, at the county level, all the great things that Bill Waldeck has done for the seniors in Downers Grove at the municipal level. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Just a few things. First of all, I want to remind everyone that there is a Coffee with the Council scheduled for April 20th, 2019, from 9 to 10 a.m., which is a Saturday, at the Downers Grove Public Library. This was an opportunity for folks to meet informally with members of the Village Council. I suspect there might be some future members of the Village Council there. In an informal setting with any issues or comments or other things they want to talk about. This will be the last one for this year at the, well, last one for the season that will be at the Downers Grove Public Library. Next month, they'll be moving back to the Farmers Market, which is awesome. I also want to remind folks next that Hope's Front Door is, and the slide just moved away from me, is, I'll come back to it. Oh, you've waited this long, you can wait another couple minutes. Is having their big annual fundraiser called the Hands of Hope Luncheon. Hope's Front Door is an immediate needs organization here right in Downers Grove that helps residents literally in our area, not some far-flung place, but our friends and neighbors, some of the people that Commissioner White and Commissioner Waldeck talked about earlier today. That is on May 16th, 2019, which is a Thursday, from 11:30 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. It will be held at the, what's the name of the golf course in Woodridge? Seven Bridges, thank you very much. Information can be obtained at info@hopesfrontdoor.org. Yes, Seven Bridges Golf Club, right there. If it was any bigger, it would have bit me in the nose. So if you want to help a great organization that helps people in our community most directly, please reach out to them and buy a ticket to lunch, or see me. I can help you with that. Also wanted to let everyone know, some of you already know, that for 34 years, the Village of Downers Grove is engaged in a cultural exchange with students from the town in Germany of Bietigheim-Bissingen, which is about the size of Downers Grove, and it's just north of Stuttgart, Germany. For 34 years, our high school students in the music program, the band program, have been going there, and the students in Bietigheim-Bissingen have been coming here. This week, the students were in town. I was able to meet with them briefly here today, and they were absolutely fantastic and fabulous. Every time they come, I'm always embarrassed on how they speak better English than most people I run into out on the street. Wonderful, wonderful kids, very talented. As a follow-up, next week, the mayor, Jürgen Kessing, and his council, although I got to tell you something, this is something you might want to think about, Mayor-elect. They don't call him mayor. He's called Bürgermeister. And in fact, his particular role is an Uber-Bürgermeister. So as long as you're changing April's title, you might want to change. You might want to change that to Uber-Bürgermeister Barnett. It's got a nice ring to it. Kind of rolls off the tongue. He and a number of other officials from that town will be visiting Downers Grove, and we'll have the opportunity to, some of our businesses and elected officials here will have an opportunity to engage in a little cultural exchange. They have a sister city in Overland Park, Kansas, so they're kind of swinging through on their visit to the United States, so that'll be very interesting. We're looking forward to that. And then last, there was one thing I forgot to mention in terms of what we survived. I talked about tornadoes and 9/11 and all these other horrible things. But the other thing I forgot to mention that we had to survive as council members is these shirts for Heritage Festival. So note to the next council, this does not work. The first time anybody saw us in these shirts at what is now Grow Fest, they all asked us which way to the zoo. Because they look like safari shirts. Commissioner Waldeck knows what I'm talking about. So I saved this just so I could save a future council from making the same fashion mistake.
It's great for